Okay, so here is the video for Enrichment's notes about fraction slopes. So we just made up problems with dice in class. So together here, I'm just gonna make them up. So let's say we have the equation y equals 1/2 x minus 2, okay? Because we're dealing with fraction slopes. So my y-intercept in this case is that minus 2, because it's always the number without a variable. And then our slope in this case is 1/2. So what we're going to do is on this expanded table, we know we start with -2. And then as we go down, since our slope is 1/2, we're going to be adding by 1/2 as we go down. So I'm going to fill in my next numbers here. Okay. Now, if you are like, I'm not good at fractions, well, then that's why this calculator is present for us. So if I got -2 plus 1/2, so I'm going to do -2 plus, and then you have to hit alpha, y equals, enter to make a fraction. And when I do that, I get -3/2, and that is not a nice number, so I don't like it. So we're going to skip and go to the next one. So I'm going to go up on the up directional pad, go up. See how it's highlighted here? Hit enter. That way it copies it down and I don't have to type it. Then I'm going to do plus 1/2 again. And that's alpha y equals enter to get the fraction bar. And this time we have a -1. That is a nice number, so I'm going to box in that nice number. And why don't we box in the nice number for the y-intercept too? Then we're going to take -1 and add a half again, which is 1/2, which gives us -1/2. Well, that's an ugly fraction that I don't want to deal with. So I'm going to take -1/2 and add a half again. And we get 0. Well, 0 is a nice number, so I'm going to box that in. Then we take 0 minus 1/2, plus 1/2, and that gives us 1/2. I'm not going to use the calculator. 1/2 plus 1/2 is 1, so there's our next nice number. Okay, again, box it in. Now what I want you to do is, with some colored pencils, hopefully you have some nearby, but see how on my x's, to get to the next nice number, we added by 2, right? 2 plus 2 is 4, 4 plus 2 is 6. We were adding by 2 every time we went down to get to a nice number. And then on my y sides, we were adding by 1, right? -2 plus 1 is -1. -1 plus 1 is 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. Now, those numbers are still in our slope from earlier, right? Here is that 1, which was the math for our y's. Here is the 2, and it's a +2, and so is that a +1. This is the math for x's. Okay, so I'll zoom out so you can see that. So the colors should line up. So see how that blue 1 matches the blue 1s we added down for our y? See how that pink 2 matches the pink 2s we added down for our x's? So if I go back here, well, the next one that's going to give me a nice number if I go backwards is going to be this -2, right? Because now I don't want to keep dealing with fractions. -4 is going to give me my next nice number. -6 is going to give me my nice number, right? What about for my y's? What are there going to be the number partners for these locations of nice numbers? Well, if I'm adding by 1 as I go down my table, when I go backwards, I'm subtracting. So this is going to be a -3, -4, -5. So if I fill out this table here, -2, this is a -4, this was 2, this was 4. We started with a -2, -1, 0, -3, -4. Okay, so here's the simplified table. All we did was took those boxed in numbers, okay, and put them on the simplified table so we don't have to have those ugly fractions anymore. Let's look at another one. Let's say we have y equals 2/5. Let's do negative 2/5 x plus 3. 3 is my y-intercept. It's the number without the variable. Negative 2/5 will be my slope. So looking at my expanded, I'm starting with 3. And let's fill in the x's here. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Then we have -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. And our slope, aka our common difference, is subtracting 2/5. So using my calculator, 3 minus 2/5 is going to give us 13/5. Well, that is an ugly fraction. So we want to go until we find a nice fraction. Subtracting 2/5 is 11/5. 11/5 minus 2/5 gives us 9/5. 9/5 minus 2/5 is 7/5. I'm not going to use the calculator. Now let's try this one. 7/5 minus 2/5 gives us 1, and there's a nice number. 1 minus 2/5 is 3/5. Okay, so we only have a nice number there at time 5, and then I'll box in this time 3. So looking at my x's, how did I get from one x with a nice number to the other x with a nice number? Well, in this case, we added by 5. Looking at my y's, going from one nice number to the next, we were subtracting 2. So if I look at my slope here, here's the -2 on the top, which is the math for y's, and on the bottom, we have a +5, which is the math for the x's. So if I was going backwards on my table, my next nice number would be here at -5, right? I'm going to go backwards 5. And instead of subtracting 2 to get to the next nice number, if I go backwards on my table, I'm going to add 2, and we get -5, 5. So let's look at this simplified table. So we had a 3, then we had a 5 and 1. And remember, once again, we were subtracting 2 and adding by 5. So my next nice number is going to be 10 and -1 below 5, 1. Above 0, 3, we had -5 and 5. Above that is going to be -10 and 7. Okay? So again, when you have a fractional slope like this, that means you have to do math not only for the y's, but for the y's and the x's. And the x's are always in the denominator because x's like to dominate. See if you can hopefully remember that alliteration. Okay, let's look at, usually we did one more for the class. We didn't really do 4. So let's say we have y equals, let's do 1/4 minus 5. -5 is our y-intercept. 1/4 is our slope. We started at -5 on our table. And as we went down, we are going to be adding 1/4 because it's a positive 1/4 in front of the x. Oh, I forgot the x. So if you want to use a calculator, more than welcome. But we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. -5 plus 1/4 gives us -19 fourths. -19 fourths plus 1/4 gives us -9 halves. -9 halves plus 1/4 gives us -17 fourths. -17 fourths plus 1/4 gives us a -4. -4 plus 1/4 gives us a negative 15/4. Negative 15/4 plus 1/4 gives us a negative 7/2. Now, this is my only nice number at time 4 with negative 4, and then time 0 with negative 5. Okay, so looking at this, again, to get from an x with a nice number to another x with a nice number, we add by 4. 0 to 4, we add 4. To get from this negative 5 to this negative 4, we add 1. And again, looking at our slope here, I have it written here. Here's where you see that 4 for the x's that we added by. Here's where you see the 1 we added the y's by. The number on the top of the fraction is the math for y's. The number on the bottom of the fraction is the math for x's. Okay? So let's see if we can do this from here. So we had negative 5. We were adding by 4, and then we added by 1, which gave us 4 and negative 4. So here we should have 8 and negative 3. Okay, so when we go backwards, this means above we'll have a negative 4. And then above the negative 5, we'll have a negative 6. Above that, we'll have negative 8 and then a negative 7. Okay? We skipped 4 with an expanded table, and we jumped into 5 and 6 where we didn't need to use the expanded table anymore. So let's say we have y equals, and we got ridiculous with our numbers. So we had like 10 over 7 x minus like 100. Okay, so the y-intercept in this case is the negative 100. Our slope is 10 over 7. So we start with a negative 100. Well, that 10 up top is the math we do for our y. So we're going to add 10. That 7 on the bottom is the math we do for our x's. So we added by 7. So let's start with our x's. So 0 plus 7 is 7. 7 plus 7 is 14. Going backwards gives us a negative 7 and a negative 14. Negative 100 plus 10 is a negative 90. Negative 90 plus 10 is a negative 80. Above the negative 100 is a negative 110. Above the negative 110 is a negative 120. And there you go. Okay, again, the number up top of the fraction for a slope is your y's. The number on the bottom is the math for your x's. So let's look at another one that we got ridiculous with. Let's say we have y equals negative 15 over 8 x, and then we have plus 45. So our y-intercept is 45. We have negative 15 over 8. So we start with 45. We have a negative 15 for the top, so we subtract 15 for the y's. So 45 minus 15 is 30. 30 minus 15 is 15. Going backwards gives us 60 and 75. Looking at our x, we had a positive 8 there. So we will be adding by 8. Do not put that negative here. Do not put that negative with both. Okay, there's only one negative, so you should only use it once. 0 plus 8 is 8. 8 plus 8 is 16. Going backwards, we get negative 8 and negative 16. Okay, so that's the video for enrichment. Hopefully that helps you with your Math 1 class, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your day.